One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, I'd like to welcome you all to this evening's meeting. The first item on the agenda is the consent agenda. The listing under the consent agenda is a group of items to be acted upon with a single motion and vote. This agenda is designed to expedite limited routine matters by City Council. I will ask if a citizen or a council member wishes to have any specific item removed from the consent agenda for discussion, and at that time, any member of the public or council member may request that an item be removed from the consent agenda prior to the council's vote. The items on tonight's consent agenda include approval of the work session and regular meeting minutes of March the 28th, 2017, approval of the expenditure vouchers of April the 11th, 2017, approval of a renewal hotel and restaurant liquor license for Ocean Pearl Chinese Restaurant, approval of a renewal 3.2 beer retail license for Pizza Hut Cortez, approval of a renewal retail marijuana store license for Durango Organics, and the approval of a special event permit for the Montezuma Land Conservancy, which is for their annual Harvest Beer Festival to be held on September the 9th, 2017. At this time, is there anybody that would like to remove one or more of these items from the consent agenda? Okay, in that case, hearing no objections to moving forward, may I have a motion?
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented with the extra expenditures of $203,919.83.
Second.
Archibald?
Aye.
Carlson?
Absent.
Thank you. Keel?
Aye.
Lucero?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
McLaughlin?
Aye.
Sheik?
Aye. Right, we have a presentation this evening on Cowboy Poetry Week. So, would you care to go to the podium and state your name and your address?
In your honor?
Yes.
If I may, I just want to let everybody in the audience know we're having some problems with our speaker system tonight. We had a piece of equipment that broke today, so my apologies. I know it's hard to hear. The good news is it's brand new equipment, so it's under warranty, so we're going to get a new one. But I know that makes it hard for you folks tonight, so I just apologize for that. We're going to all try to project ourselves and speak up, but I'd ask if you go to the podium, please do that as well and realize that you're not really being amplified, but you are being recorded, so you still need to speak into the speaker, but just please project your voice. But I know for a cowboy poetry person, that won't be a problem for you, right?
Well, usually I'm told to shut up. My name is Barbara Richard. I'm a local DJ here at KSJD Dryland Community Radio, and I'm always looking for ways of promoting the cowboy. And the Cowboy Poetry Week is such a fantastic opportunity for us in the rural and agricultural industry to promote the cowboy and rural way of life. And I'm very honored that you are allowing us to do this here tonight. Thank you very much, Mayor. And
glad that you came.
I know that Sunday you can listen to cowboy poetry. In case any of you don't listen to Caltrells, you can listen to it, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. So with that said, I would like to present this poster to the city of Cortez from the Cowboy Poetry folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wrong cowboys there. Yeah. Do you want to take a picture of?
I'd love a picture.
Okay.
From Margo.
Do you want me to come down, or do you want Council?
Just go on down.
That would be great. Thank you. You're going to listen to the show Sunday, right?
I hear it. Oh, yeah. I can listen to that better than that.
Well, now you can just listen, baby.
I will go. required preserving our Western heritage and the culture of Colorado through oral and written poetry. And whereas the long tradition and enduring qualities of these stories and poems demonstrate that cowboy poetry is a part of a long-cherished legacy. And whereas Colorado has produced well-respected contemporary cowboy poets and hosts important cowboy poetry gatherings in Cortez and elsewhere, and whereas contributions of cowboy poets date as far back as cowboys themselves, and as such, Colorado's cowboy poetry should be recognized and celebrated. Therefore, I, Karen Sheik, Mayor of the City of Cortez, do hereby proclaim April the 16th through April the 22nd, 2017, as Cowboy Poetry Week.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Go Broncos.
Thank you.
It's really a beautiful poster. Okay. At this time, I would like to open the podium for citizen participation. If there's anybody that would like to address council, again, you'll need to speak up with your name and your address.
Let me apologize right away. My voice is very much under the weather. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
My name is Preston Harper. I hail from Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. My wife and I, around the corner, we are on a journey. We left really in June, stayed 6 weeks, and we left in October. That's the last time we were in Pennsylvania. My driver's license expires December the 30th, and I have to get back before then. But I just wanted to give you council members some feedback regarding my time here. My wife and I are, we're casual in terms of our determination where we go. We woke up in Gooseneck State Park, Utah. Beautiful, you gotta see it. And we wanted to go to church. We had to drive an hour away. I'm not a Mormon. And we ended up in the town with a B.
Bluff?
No.
Blanding.
Bland. Appropriate name. We went to church and talking to my wife, and she says something to the effect that we're 45 minutes away from Colorado. You got to understand, I do what she says. I don't look at maps or anything, you know? And I was like, are you telling me I could sleep in Colorado tonight? And you are at me this close and we're not going there? So we came to your fair town. On Sunday night, we checked in at the White
Eagle.
White Eagle. Beautiful, clean, wonderful rooms. Great staff. And we went to a Jack and Janelle's for a nice diner meal. And after the meal, we came out, and there in front of me, I felt like I was in an episode of Cops. There were 5 police cars from your town. Now,
Not after you, I hope.
no, thankfully, but it really set me kind of back, because we had driven through town and we're really just enjoyed the idyllicness, and we were, we've stayed up to 5 weeks in one town because we were drawn to it and enjoyed it, and we like to explore it so that we go to the little places, so that next time I go to Benny's, they know which table I want, and we spend money. And since Sunday, my wife and I, we just spent $84 at Walmart, went to Big R's for that, spent money there. We figured we spent about $1,000 in town since Sunday. So I guess I'm saying to you, I think that I'm the kind of tourist you really want. Cause trouble, come in, we go to the spots. But I'm telling you that when we go to Backcountry Solar and we talk about getting solar done here and coming back here and spending more time here, it really makes me concerned when I see a little town like this, and it begs the question, is there violence? Is there that bad that 5 cars are, for a traffic stop? What's going on here? I observed a couple of traffic stops. A guy puttering through town on a motorcycle. Clearly, no speeding going on, whatever, and the cop stopped him. I didn't follow him. I saw another traffic stop. So I'm just telling you that as a person who loves the fact that my forefathers signed the Declaration of Independence, and this freedom and liberty aspect means that as a free man, I can travel anywhere in this great, fantastic country without fear of being hassled by somebody with a gun, as long as I'm just doing my own thing, not breaking laws, not doing anything to draw attention. But yet, I'm telling you that it really left a real disconcerting feeling. We observed a number of times with multiple cars coming. I think it sends the wrong message. It did to me, and I would ask you guys to really consider that your policing be more directed to friendly, helpful, not looking for trouble. Fredericksburg, Texas, I would direct, if you want to take a field trip, is the perfect, bestest town since we've been traveling, that I would say represents no hassles, plenty of free parking, cops, helpful, friendly. Oh, hey, let me show you where this is. Directing, and not in this, we are the occupying army feeling that I got the other day. Do you care to ask me any questions?
Nope.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to address council? Do you want to answer?
I thought he might.
It's open.
Yeah, as you know, I'm Roy Lane, I'm the police chief. The Jack and Janelle's thing, they called us. We didn't just go down there for the heck of it. They called us. They had issue with people not paying for their meal. It was more than one person. I don't know at any one time whether there's 5 police cars. Could have been a sheriff's office car there, but I can guarantee you on a Sunday we do not have 5 cars in the so.
I took a picture of it if you'd like to see.
Well, I'm not standing up here to argue with you. I'm just saying we were called, and so we do work traffic. You bet we do, and we do have grants from the state of Colorado to work extra traffic. We do that, but I think anybody would be hard to call us a Gestapo type police department.
I didn't use Gestapo and justifying being a road pirate because the state of Colorado throws extra money.
Well, sir,
if you would like to address this council, you can come back up to the stand, please.
It's not appropriate to kind of go back and forth like that, sir. Well, yeah, but the chief stood at the podium, sir.
You know, the real key here, my friends, is you raised your right hand, all of you, and you did too, and you promised and swore that you would uphold not only the Constitution of Colorado, but the Constitution of the United States. And that oath of office says your first duty is to uphold that, the freedom and liberty that we're guaranteed. And I don't care what laws are passed. Laws are fleeting and capricious. And the rights that we have that are endowed by our Creator, that you are to uphold, can't be bought and paid. Oh, the Colorado pays you extra money. And he says that's okay to traffic stop people. That's called being a road pirate.
Mr. Harper, I appreciate you getting up and sharing your concern. I can understand why it could be disconcerting if you saw a number of police cars, but the truth is, you didn't really know what the circumstances were, and...
If you think that 5 police officer cars are necessary over a skipped diner check, then my friends, we will kick the dust, blow the dust off our feet.
Well, sometimes when a call goes out, a number of officers respond just so that there is somebody responding to the call. And, you know, you don't always know when maybe there may be an emergency and somebody needs some help. And if that's the case, you certainly want as much support as possible. Have a safe trip home. Is there anybody else that would like to address council? Okay, in that case, we will move on. We have no public hearings, no unfinished business. We have new business. 2017 vehicle bid. Rick?
Honorable Mayor and City Council, as you're aware, the 2017 equipment budget provides $176,000 for the purchase of 3 patrol vehicles and 2 Parks and Rec vehicles. Also this year, the bid included a pickup replacement for a totaled out vehicle in the water fund. The city did receive a check from our insurance carrier for that vehicle, plus we were able to sell it for salvage on our auction to partially offset some of the cost. Specifications were drawn up and bids were received on April 5th. The city received 2 local responses to our request for bid and 2 out-of-town bids. Also, as a matter of practice, we compared those bids to the Colorado State bid system. Just real quickly, bid item 1 is a mid-size SUV with a police package. The low bidder was New Country, local company, $27,854.20. Bid item 2 was a 4-wheel drive crew cab pickup with the police package, $28,685. Bid item 3 is a detective SUV mid-size, $28,356.85. That also went to New Country. Bid item 4, that's the water replacement. That one, the low bidder is Colorado State bid, $35,257.48. Bid item 5 is a Parks and Rec vehicle. There again, Colorado State bid is the low bidder at $35,498.20. And bid item 6 is a 1-ton cabin chassis that we'll put a utility bed on later. New Country is a low bidder for that, $28,345. The purchases as recommended would reflect $148,739.25 for the equipment fund. The water fund amount would be $35,257.48. So the grand total purchase of the bid would be $183,996.73. The equipment fund would be $27,260.75 below the budgeted amount. And as we previously discussed, the water vehicle is a partial coverage from the insurance and the auction. Those items will be taken up with the revised budget. All of the items in the equipment fund are budgeted.
Does anybody have any questions?
No. We have none. There's going to be some cruisers.
Convertible cruisers. All right, may I have a motion, please?
Honorable Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to award the 2017 vehicle bid as follows. Bid item 1 unit to the low bidder, New Country, at the bid amount of $27,854.20. Bid item 2, 1 unit to the low bidder, New Country, at the bid amount of $28,685. Bid item 3, 1 unit to the low bidder, New Country, at the bid amount of $28,356.85. Bid item 4, 1 unit to the low bidder, Colorado State bid, at the bid amount of $35,257.48. Bid item 5, the low bidder, Colorado State bid, at the amount of $35,498.20. Bid item 6, to the low bidder, New Country, at the amount of $28,345, for a grand total of $183,996.73.
Second.
Lucero.
Aye.
McLaughlin.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Keel.
Aye.
Archbeck.
Aye.
Sheep.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick. Engagement letter with Butler Snow Law. Shane.
Thank you, Your Honor. So following a discussion at our last workshop, council instructed staff to move forward with preparations for placing a ballot question in the April 2018 election for the Recreation Center. As you know, any tax question is a TABOR question, which means that it needs to be written very specific and ironclad way. Since the city has very specific goals that it would like to achieve with the reissue of a sales tax, it is imperative that the ballot language is clear, concise, and legally defensible. For these reasons, staff recommends that city hire an attorney that specializes in this field. I did some research and checking around, and D. Weiser with Butler Snow comes up as one of the best in the state for this purpose. City Attorney Green and I spoke with Mr. Weiser, and we're both favorably impressed with his clear mastery of the subject, and we're clear that he had the ability to assist the city in this matter. Their work will include drafting the resolution setting the title and calling the election, assisting the city with drafting the TABOR notice, advising on the Fair Campaign Practices Act compliance, and otherwise fielding inquiries from the city about the election. If you look through the contract, you notice that hourly, Mr. Weiser has a pretty high hourly rate, I think because he's very good at what he does. So I did ask him to try to ballpark for us about how much these elections should run, and he thought it would be about $5,000 or $6,000 total. So I think that the grand total is a lot less hard-stopping than his hourly quote. Staff is recommending that the council move to approve this and to authorize the mayor to execute the engagement letter submitted.
Does anybody have a question on this?
It would all be mail-in, this go-around once it happened.
Yes.
Any other questions?
No, that's what I was going to ask.
Okay, then may I have a motion, please?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept and approve the engagement letter as submitted by D. Weiser with Butler Snow, and to authorize the mayor to execute it on behalf of the city.
Second.
McLaughlin.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Archbeck.
Aye.
Keel.
Aye.
Lucero.
Aye.
Sheep.
Aye. All right, review of Montezuma County high impact permit on 35 acres of property owned by Dave and Lana Waters. Tracy.
Good evening, council. This is an application that's being submitted through the county's planning process, and the city did receive an application packet on March 31st. This packet was reviewed by the City Planning Commission because it's within the 1 mile area. And the City Planning Commission has forwarded their concerns regarding traffic and buffering essentially to the county. So it's now being brought to council because it's also was sent to us because we're an adjacent landowner, so the city shares a boundary with this particular property. And staff has reviewed the application and has some points for council to consider. The property was rezoned in 2015 to heavy industrial. And right now, this is a high impact permit, which we believe is intended to address mitigation measures. Staff is not questioning the specific uses. However, we do recommend that specific information on how the activities will be mitigated be provided in the application. We feel that the application is somewhat ambiguous regarding the actual activities that will occur, as the application states including but not limited to. Also, there's not a site plan that shows where exactly the activities will occur on the 35 or so acres. So we feel that that would be good information to have, so that you know exactly where the activities are happening and then where the mitigation could occur to kind of provide a buffer between those industrial activities and the surrounding property owners. Also, the application does state something about a secondary access road being constructed. However, it again is not shown specifically on a plan, nor does the application identify when the secondary access road would be constructed. That's something else we just think kind of contributes to the lack of information in the application. So some specific things that we've also identified that may be up for consideration are that traffic states that there will be less than 15 vehicle round trips. This doesn't state whether that's taken into account that a heavy truck is going to have more impact on the road and on traffic than a passenger vehicle. And because of that, we feel that an engineered traffic study would be warranted. There's also just the general concern that the industrial activities would create noise, dust, and visual impacts to the surrounding property owners, which include residentially and agriculturally zoned property, as well as our geared natural area. And then to the east is a light industrial property, and then kind of within the boundaries of the property is a veterinary clinic. So staff is suggesting specific screening and buffering be shown to demonstrate how the industrial activities will reduce the impacts to those surrounding properties. So so I guess staff's recommendation is for council to authorize the mayor to send a letter to address any concerns that council may have regarding this project as an adjacent landowner.
I was here at the planning and zoning meeting the evening that they discussed this, and one of the possible uses of this land would be perhaps as a hot batch plant, which has a lot different impact on an area than somebody bringing in and storing supplies or reducing masses of waste material to more compact form. So there would certainly be some concern for that if it's the intent in the future to do that, that may be something that's dealt with separately, because I could see that the impact of that kind of a use of that property would be a lot different than many of the other uses that they're talking about using it for. And in addition, the amount of traffic, there's a big difference between a van or a small pickup truck and a big, massive truck that's used for construction. Council, after you had read the packet, are there other things that struck you?
I have a question.
Yes, Tim.
When I read the package, it sounded to me like the property was zoned for heavy industrial, and what they're describing here is a situation when a construction project comes up. There's things like crushers and portable equipment that they usually bring up close to the job and use it there, and then when the job is done, that equipment leaves. And so what this proposed use of the property is to have a place to do that kind of stuff when those things are needed. So I don't know how you could say, okay, we're going to, on this part of the property, we're going to do the asphalt, and this part we're going to do something when you don't even know what the jobs are yet. It's more of it's going to be for storage of equipment, for bringing in portable plants, and for doing that. So I don't see how they can answer the questions until they know what's there and how long it's going to be there.
Well,
and there will be a time when they have to apply for those permits.
I don't know if that's true.
Well, they do for the state.
Yeah, maybe for the state, but I think what staff suggesting here, Councilman, is that I think you're right. I mean, as I read it, it reads exactly the same to me, that it's really just, as these jobs come up, they need a place to stage, it's not a long term, it's a short term, but right now there's no mitigation proposed for noise, for any kind of dust, for visual. There's no mitigation at all, and we know that all these things are a possibility. So one thing that staff is recommending, that is part of the high impact permit, we say, okay, if these things could happen here, we should probably take those into account now. We should have.
So they should mitigate for everything in case they do something down the road.
I think that they should. I think that they should mitigate for anything they're asking to do. They should have that plan now to mitigate now, because right now there's no mitigation. So if they're saying these are all the things that we could do with it, then yes, they should mitigate for those now, because if they don't know what it's going to be, then the mitigation never ends up being there.
But if they own the property and they want it for a staging area, and they're applying to have it be a staging area, why do they have to tell you exactly what they're doing?
Well, if that's all the application said, is to continue to do a staging area, I don't know that we would be here.
Staging and plants.
But it also says, asphalt batch plant is in there.
Those are plants.
Right, the plants.
And when they come in, they will be permitted.
But not by the city and not by the county. I think if they go through this high impact permit, I think that then they'll in fact be permitted by the county.
I thought that's what the county said when it said they rezoned the property and the city provided comments recommending the county instead rezone the property light industrial due to the concerns that heavy industrial activities would not be compatible with the area. And the county had informed staff during that process that many heavy-duty industrial uses would require a high-impact permit.
Right, and that's what's before the county right now, is that high-impact permit.
For what?
The high-impact permit for everything that's listed in that application.
But that was just the types of things.
Right, but I don't know, maybe Tracy knows differently. I think that this is the county process, Councilman. I don't think that there's another crack at this. I don't think that if they bring in an asphalt batch plant, I don't think that there's another county application for that. I think if it's in this high impact permit, then it's something that's permitted. And I may be wrong, because I can't really claim to really understand.
Like in the industrial complex, it's zoned for industrial buildings?
In heavy industrial, there's...
No, I mean in our industrial complex, it's just zoned for industrial buildings. But when somebody wants to build a building on their property, they have to get a permit for the building that they're going to build when they build the building.
Right.
Well, these people have to get a permit for the plants that they're going to bring in. And they say on that permit how long it's going to be there, what it's going to be used for, and what has to be done when they take it out.
I think that's what's not clear. That's what's not clear.
Well, but even if they have one from the state, I don't know that the state has any local mitigation requirements.
Even from the county. I'm just looking at it from the construction side point, and not from the government.
This permit is the high impact permit for everything that they've listed, which is up on the screen. So this is their approval process to go forward with constructing a site to do all of these activities.
Yes, you're right.
So
they're going to build a site that can do these things.
Correct.
But when they do these things,
they won't be coming back to the county with a site plan at that time, is my understanding. Is that this high impact permit is that process.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
because the county doesn't have a building permit process. They don't have. As far as I understand, this is the county process. I don't think that there's another shot at this for mitigation through the county's normal land use processes. And again, I could stand corrected because I can't, but from the best of my understanding, this is the county process. This is our chance to get any kind of mitigation for gear from forever. So that's why we're taking this seriously. Really, quite frankly, from a land use standpoint, you kind of look at, okay, what's the most offensive thing that could happen here? What thing would we need to mitigate for? What would cause the neighbors the most distress? what would cause the most noise, whatever that is, and let's mitigate for those things. If it's something that they're saying that they could do there, that's really how you want to approach it. So that's, again, I think just kind of more of a land use,
Every place I've done construction, that's not been the case. If that's the case here, then I stand corrected.
Okay, well, it's to the best of my understanding, that's the case here, that this is the county process.
So there would be no other permitting on any of these things?
I think there's state permits, and I mean, they may need a 404 permit if they're working the wetland.
I think they have to contact the neighbors and the government agencies in that area that they're putting those plants. I don't think you can
for
move
each
in.
individual? I mean, like...
You cannot move a big industrial plant onto a piece of property, set it up, and start running it without contacting the local authorities.
Right, and so maybe, and even if we're contacted though, and I think their application said that they would consult and advise local governments as it goes through, so that may be right, but I don't think that means at that point we can say, okay, what's the mitigation? I think if it's not required at this point, we may be notified, but that doesn't mean that we're going to actually have any of these addressed. So I really think that this is kind of the city's chance to at least recommend it to their P&Z. I mean, their P&Z may say, you don't understand our process, we're going to make them do X, Y, and Z, and then I'll stand corrected.
It just seemed like they had answered that in this.
Well, they did, but that's where we are now. They said that any high impacts will need to come through for a high impact permit, and that's what's in front of us right now is that high impact permit.
So once this has been voted in place, then all of these things could be done there because it's been awarded as a high impact area.
From the county standpoint,
right.
From land use, again,
right.
Councilman Miller's right. I think there's a lot more, there's different state permitting, but from a county land use standpoint, I don't think that there's more interactions with the county. Unless they're found to be in violation of something in the permit. Of the high impact permit.
Okay.
So I think if it said, geez, your noise levels are a lot higher than we permitted, we said you could be at this many decibels and we measured and you're the higher, that could pull it back in. But as long as they're in compliance with the permitted.
I know the county has done a lot of mitigation against Kinder Morgan, and they have.
But they're going in for new permits all the time, though.
Well, these are going to have to.
Well, because they're drilling new wells, and I mean, again, I don't know what.
They're bringing in a well and setting it up is very similar to what he's talking about, bringing in a plant and setting it up. You have to go through all the process again.
Basically what this does is if we send a letter, it simply says that there are some concerns on the part of the city. We're a neighbor. You've asked for our input. These are our concerns. We have some concerns about possible dust. We have concerns about level of noise because there are some residences in that area. We have some concern about noise from certain operations such as a hot batch plant. And we just want to express the fact that these are concerns for us and what kind of mitigation is going to be put into place rather than after the fact finding out that there's not anything else that can be done. The county will do what the county does, but this simply tells the county that you've asked for input, these are our concerns, have you thought about this, and then they'll act on it in however they see fit. It just gives us a chance to express issues that we think could be a problem in the future. And have they considered that?
Yeah.
And maybe they have.
I think they have.
Well, they get the county gets the final say. Just to reiterate what the mayor's saying, this is just something that came up. They wanted our input. We're giving them our input.
To me, it's much better.
What they decide is what they decide.
Yeah, to me, it's much better to say up front, these are what some of our concerns are, rather than 6 months or 12 months down the road, we've got some issues because some things are going in there and there isn't anything in place, and then we go to the county and say, this is a real problem. They say, well, you had a chance for input, you didn't say anything, so too bad.
Okay, that's,
Because what I see too is this is out in the county, but it's also on by the industrial park that we have, and that county road belongs to the county. It's not the city like the other park that we have by Brandon's Gate and by the there. That's where I'm seeing is when it says high impact. I mean, it's hard for me to say what, like you said, what they're putting in there, but I think it's big brother watching little brother too much. I think. I mean, in my opinion, but I still think
that's what I
a
think.
business can be, operate a business, what I'm saying.
I don't know what you said, but I think that's what I think too.
But where I say the property here, at least it keeps the business, whatever they put in there, locally, I think, what I'm looking at, but
Because
the high impact permit, I don't see no problem with it.
Yeah.
Because of their location to county access.
The county access, and it's close to the city's industrial parks.
And they put these plants in every time they have a job.
The high impact permit, it's already been established as heavy industrial, right? So they're just...
Well, it's required because this use exceeds some thresholds so the county zoning with the heavy industrial, they have thresholds in there. If you think you're going to exceed those, you need to do a high impact permit. And I think the specific threshold discussed was the traffic counts. The application reads that they think they'll average year-round 15 vehicle trips or less per day. There may be times when they're running a lot more than that because they've got a job or something. And so I think that's what triggers the high impact permit.
Okay.
So again, and Tracy, is that about what you understand with the county's process?
They have to do a high impact permit because it may exceed the threshold standards.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, it's for whatever reason being processed as a high impact permit, which according to their code, someone who exceeds those thresholds needs to go through it. I'm not 100% sure which thresholds.
I think it's traffic. As I read it, or maybe it was a testimony at PNC, it's a 15 traffic count per day. Because on some days they're going to exceed that count. They're going to average less than that year-round, but on some days they'll have a lot more than 15 vehicles. So that was my understanding, I think, based on testimony at PNC.
I mean, it's not uncommon for crushing plants and construction staging yards. I mean, they may come and go off the site, but chances are pretty good that some of these things are going to be there for an indefinite amount of time. And, without knowing specifically where on the property, will they be right next to the gear park within 10 feet? Will they be 50 feet on the interior? I mean, those are just the things that I would suggest considering. If you knew that they were going to be putting a crushing plant 10 feet away from the bike trail, would you want to say, please put in some buffering or landscaping? I mean, that's just where we're coming from at the staff level, is just to contemplate, what are some things that might impact the open space, and should we make some suggestions without knowing its specific details? Because I've been told that this is the time to make those suggestions for them to consider.
Okay, so we're not saying, okay, our letter is just voicing our concerns. It's not saying that we're against the high impact, because a lot of this stuff we're already doing right there in our industrial park. Like we have the crushing facilities going on right now, so a lot of this stuff that's in this application is already being done in that area.
Correct. It's not about the uses. I mean, it's been rezoned, and I mean, just for the purposes of understanding how that all works, it would not behoove us to criticize the allowed uses so much as how they're pursued. We're fine with the allowed uses. That's their process. They're done. It's, it is what it is at this point. But if there's going to be an asphalt plant, we'd like to see X, Y, or Z be implemented to mitigate.
It's just voicing our concerns about how it's going to affect the surrounding area.
Right.
Am I on the right page?
You are, and I think I would say it's like Tracy said. I think we said in the memo, we're staff that really doesn't have an issue with what any use they're proposing, as much as the high impact permit is a chance for us to mitigate for those uses. It's really saying, okay, fine, your zoning is fine, this is where you're going to do it, but if you're going to cause a lot of dust and noise, and I would remind you that before it was rezoned, I think this was, you know, AR or some kind of residential zoning, so they have a lot of neighbors around them. So it was rezoned for them, now they have a heavy industrial in the middle of a lot of residential zone people. And is it too much to ask to put up an earthen berm with some planting around there, just so the neighbors don't have to hear that operation, just so they don't have to deal with the dust?
As long as when the person is putting in the plant, because that's the person that owns the land is making that land available to these plants that are coming in there. So these plants that come in there to do this one job are going to build a berm, put their plant there, and then when they leave, they can take that berm with them, because the next person to come in there may not need a berm. They may need a smoke screen or whatever. But it's individual uses. And to say, okay, well, we're going to put a crusher here in 2018, but in 2019, we might have something over here, when they don't even have an offer yet of anybody to bring anything in there. They don't know what's coming in.
Right.
And it's their property.
Right. And I would say again, the city owns property right next door, and there's a lot of residences that surround them. And, you know, I think the purpose of the high impact permit is to anticipate impacts of that permit and ask for mitigation. So, I mean, you've been clear, Councilman Miller, loud and clear. I understand where you're coming from, sir, and I don't want to disagree with you. I'm just telling you that's why staff brought it in front of council. So, okay. You folks can discuss it, and if council determines they don't want to send a letter to mitigate, that's one less letter we're writing tomorrow. And that's, you know, staff, of course, is just...
I can see sending a letter saying, when you know what's going to be in, let's mitigate what it's going to be, but I can't see how they can mitigate for all the uses if they don't even know when their uses are going to be done and how long they're going to be there and for what. And there may be plants for construction projects that aren't even invented yet. But yet when that construction, when the high-rise building gets built in Cortez, there's going to be a plant that we don't know about going to be set up temporarily until that high-rise is built. That may not be in my lifetime, but see, that's the issue that I see. They're putting their property up there and saying, we will make this available for storing construction equipment, for like repairs of construction equipment. And they've described all the kind of things that they want it to offer it. But they don't have anybody leasing it yet. Look, I don't know how they can make it these mitigations on something they don't know yet. But if you guys want to ask for it, that's okay.
Do any of the council members have any questions or comments?
I said mine, so I don't have any.
Ty?
I have none.
Bob?
I appreciate the county working with us. I think it's really neat that they see that we have the Gear property right next door, and how that's important that we work like neighbors. And that's really good. I kind of like the letter myself, you know, making them aware that we do have concerns.
Right.
But the bottom line is, it's up to them, right?
May I have a motion?
In Your Honor, I'm sorry, I think we have a few people in the audience that did want to speak on this, and it's your prerogative to allow them or not, but I do want to mention that.
Okay, if there are people that would like to speak for this, yes, if you'll please speak up. 3 minutes.
Right. Thank you for your conversation. My name is Diane Wren, and my husband and I own Osprey Packs. We're located in the industrial park. Really appreciate the conversation about this because we have some strong feelings about it. I did want to address this. We've owned our company for many years, but we've been in the industrial park for 22 years. D&L is a close neighbor of our company, and the narrative that they have supplied states a variety of industrial activity and plants that could occupy their 35 acres. As we've all kind of been noting, we're not clear on what exactly is going to happen there. But our main concern here at this point is talking about this proposed hot mix asphalt plant. That's of most concern to ourselves as owners and employees at Osprey Packs. We know that this is essential to build the roads in our communities, and we understand that that's a part of our community to have such a plan. But the location is the thing that really gnaws at us. This location, where DNL is currently, is bordering the city limits and includes family residences, Southwest Memorial Hospital, Vibrant Pet Animal Hospital, the newly formed Carpenter Natural Area, and the business such as mine that are in the industrial park. We feel that a hot mix asphalt operation has big potential to impact the health of the people that live and work in this neighborhood. Noticeable emissions would include odors and particulates that are known to be carcinogens to human beings. We are just not in favor at all of this particular aspect of possibility that it would be located in this area. In the past, Mountain Gravel used to be right below us, and I don't believe they had a hot asphalt plant, but they had some operations that blew a lot of dust and odor into our building. We had to, on occasion, send people home that were ill from this. So the prevailing wind actually right now is kind of coming from the east and a little bit south, and blows at this time of year, spring is windy here, right into our building. We can kind of see that the smoke, fumes, whatever may come as a result of a plant like this would not only blow our area, but the whole area, all the residents, the hospital, and so on. I can't believe this is a good location for the people that live in the city of Cortez. We'll have 25 team members remaining at that location where we are now in the industrial park, even though we're moving, as you well know, close by here. We will still maintain that building for our work efforts. So we feel strongly that we appreciate that the city of Cortez has been contacted by the county to make their recommendations about what they think. So we understand that the end decision is made with the county, and we hope to attend those P&Z meetings that are upcoming, but I did want to make an effort here to let you know our thinking as neighbors of DNL. And it was interesting to me to watch that transition there, because I think that land might have been zoned agricultural, and then it went, the county gave them permission to go heavy industrial, which was actually kind of shocking to us. We have received no notification about this. We only watch the city council meeting agenda at our company, so we knew that this was upcoming. So I don't know if other neighbors are aware of this potential or not. That would be interesting to find out. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say, just to understand that we have big concerns. We don't know exactly what they're going to do, or what kind of different companies might come in and use their services, but if they do go with this kind of asphalt plant, we really feel that's not a mobile kind of thing, I don't believe. I think it would have to be stationary, and we oppose that. We can say that we would appreciate that you could write a letter in support of that too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would somebody else like to speak to council? Anyone? Okay. In that case, may I have a motion, please?
I would like to speak.
Okay.
It's too loud.
Your Honor, Counsel, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Nathan Barton, and I reside at 11501 County Road 34, outside the city limits. And I'm here to speak to answer a couple of the questions that were raised during the discussion, if I may. I am an environmental engineer and a civil engineer. I'm licensed in Colorado and other states, and I've been working here in Montezuma County for 18 years, hard as that is to believe. I have done numerous projects involving use of the county land use code, and so I'm aware of some of the things perhaps that were not correctly or completely stated. The first thing is that the county procedure for things such as hot mix plants and ready mix plants is actually a two-stage process. It has to first be identified in a high-impact permit for the site, but when there is a need to actually locate, for instance, a hot mix plant, it is required by the county that that go back to the county, to the P&Z, to the Planning Commission, and to the county commissioners for approval. An example of this is located on Haycamp Mesa, where there are several properties, several permitted sand and gravel operations that had previously identified to the county that there's a potential for having a hot mix plant there based on projects. When that potential has turned into reality, it has been required in a full process of review and approval or denial by the county has taken place. The same thing occurred at the Simmons Pit, where there is a permanent hot mix asphalt plant. The second thing is hot mix asphalt facilities are not permanent. They can be permanent, but they are also portable and temporary in nature. A third point is that indeed Four Corners Materials, previously called Mountain Gravel or Mountain Stone, did indeed operate a hot mix asphalt facility in the property which the city now owns. In fact, in that part of the property that's now identified as part of the specialist gear area. The reason that I know this is because I personally did testing on that facility. It was a very old facility. It did meet state standards, but it is nothing at all like the modern requirements for facilities that would be operating there today. But that was a facility which operated at that site immediate below the Cortez Industrial Park for many, many years, together with a ready-mix plant located there and another ready-mix plant owned by Mr. Larry Ruhl approximately a mile east. Those were quote-unquote heavy industrial uses. They did operate while various companies operated in the Cortez Industrial Park. Fifth thing is that the threshold standards which were talked about and were identified in the reason for the high impact permit were indeed, as Mr. Hale indicated, traffic. The second was the potential for exceeding the 35-foot height limit, which is established in the county land use code. Both of those were identified and explained in the application. The application also clearly identified the potential location of a northwest access road from County Road L into the property that would potentially cross wetlands. Okay, that was clearly identified, even though the analysis said that there was not a map. I believe it's on page 71 of the package which you all have. It does show that map. It also, in the language which is contained, I believe, on page 61 of that package, there is an identification that buffer zones, a minimum of 30 feet, and on certain locations 50 feet wide, would be established and maintained. Even though it was claimed that we could, quote, set up a facility or set up a plant only 10 feet away from the property line, that has never been the intention. It was clearly stated that that was not. These are things which I realize are difficult to go through. I wrote much of that, and it's only because I've been doing that for many years that I'm able to identify and find and identify and explain all of the things for the county requires. But the county does look out for the interests of the city as well as the interests of the residents of the county, and I think in this case they will do so on Thursday and in the upcoming review and hearing by the by the Board of County Commissioners. Thank you for your time. I apologize, I think I went over. Are there any questions?
I have none. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Matt.
ma'am.
Then there should be no problem from the county's perspective with the city simply raising some of these issues and making sure that they're aware of our concerns so that we're all on the same page and we all know what's what. Are there any others in the audience who would like to? Okay, I'm going to shut it down for public comment then, and if I may have a motion. You started. Did you start to make a motion?
No, but you can.
Oh, okay. I thought you had started and then.
I'll
But
do
if you
it
don't
right
want
now,
to.
Madam Mayor, you get the right page. Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the mayor, you, to sign a letter to address council's concerns regarding the high-impact permit for 25716 County Road L.
I'll second.
And so before we get a motion, I would want to know specifically the things the council wants to put in the letter. I mean, as far as, are we addressing, concerns about noise and dust and sight with landscaping? Or are we addressing concerns about impacts of traffic to County Road L, doing a little bit more thorough analysis? Are we, are we concerned about the asphalt batch plant, this possibility? Is there just whatever council wants us to highlight, we can put in the letter. I just want to be really clear, especially given the amount of conversation we've had with
I think we're probably concerned about all those issues. I think traffic is an issue, just to be sure that we know what constitutes, when you talk about 15 trips, what kind of vehicles are we talking about? Because dust has been mentioned, noise has been mentioned, and I think most specifically, there has obviously been a great concern about the asphalt plant.
I'm not as concerned about the traffic, given the fact that the county's in charge of that portion of the road. So that's not something that I'm concerned with, I guess, from just a neighbor policy, given the fact that I think we went through something similar once they had purchased that property initially. We had this, there's the zone of influence between the county and the city. And I think that that's something that, just from an understanding of what they're going to do with that property. So that's my concerns.
Are there any others?
Well, George Gear is right there, and I think that's a big item as to how it affects that property. So that's one thing. We have a lot of bikers, we have a lot of enthusiasts that go biking and want to use those areas there. I think we gotta, take that into, to effect as to how that's going to affect George Gear and how we want to maybe advance, make George Gear bigger and better.
Does that give you the direction you need, Jim?
Not exactly, Your Honor. Because I've heard some different things. So really, we need, just part of the motion. I mean, if it's, I think what Councilman Archibald said. I mean, really, is I hear Gear and I hear Councilman Kill talk about just kind of the good neighbor and how that impacts. To me, I think, okay, maybe that's, putting in some screening there for some of the proposed uses. But I don't know if that's what council's saying. So,
well, that's the approach we took last time, if I'm not mistaken, right? Am I on the right track with that?
Yeah, I believe you are, yes.
Okay. So that more to me is in dealing with the property. The road in and of itself is basically the county's maintenance issues. So that's something that I don't think has as much influence on us just basically trying to be on the same page as the city and saying, as the county and saying, what's the plan with this property? Just like they would ask us the same question, what we're doing with property that borders their property. So.
So the letter, kind of, if you're writing, would say we would like to know what the county has planned in ways to mitigate for any of these.
Sure. Can they be specific with their high impact permit?
Good.
Yeah, if this becomes an issue, if dust becomes an issue, how are we going to deal with that? If noise is a major issue, if in fact there is discussion about putting in an asphalt plan. Is there, how are you going to move forward on that?
Right, and I think maybe to Councilman Miller's suggestion, if we could request, and maybe this gets more where you're looking for, if there are concerns with noise, with dust, with unsightliness, if we had some way to trigger that high impact permit to go back in front of them, if they met some metrics. You know, if it got to be a concern, again, if there's a concern about asking for too much right now, if we had some way, if it got to be a concern, because that's just my deal. I think if they're not really doing any uses that cause those, then I see why they wouldn't want to make that investment. But I just want to make sure that we don't miss that opportunity forever and ever to comment on those. Because I'm sure the gentleman that spoke a little bit ago, if they do have a second permitting process for any kind of plant that comes in, that's great, but I still don't know what we can request from the county. I don't know if there's any, if we can request something or not. I really don't know.
I know that the county puts in stipulations to, like Kinder Morgan.
Sure.
If they get complaints because of dust, they can assess Kinder Morgan more money so that they can do more dust control on the highway. Okay. So I know that the county does have controls, and what we want to do is, if a plant does go in there that's that's a nuisance, that we want to be able to call them up and say, hey, is there something we can do to lower this nuisance, whether it be noise or dust or smell or whatever. But I think that is part of the permitting.
And I'm sure you're right, because I think the council approves many times when we have like conditional use, and we may have 3 or 4 metrics in there. We just had with the Kiva school coming back, that was a conditional use, and you look at that annually. So I'm sure you're right with that. So does council feel like that's more what you'd like to see, is more that direction of not necessarily requesting any mitigation right now, but just requesting that there's be some kind of stipulation or conditional use in the county's process to where if we do have complaints about noise or dust or something, that there'd be a way to go back.
And that it will be addressed, that we're not simply...
Yes, if that's in the permit that they get when they go on there, then we can come back and say, okay, it has reached this level and we're getting these complaints and it's going to increase the cost or whatever, and whether it be fines or make them do something.
Okay. So I don't see anybody shaking their head yes or no, or what? I
mean, I think we already beat it to death.
Yeah, we have.
But I'm sorry, I just don't want to have the mayor sign a letter and copy it to council and have 3 of you say, wait, I voted for this, but I didn't know if this was going to be the letter. So because we didn't have a draft letter for you, we really wanted to hear council's input.
All right. I think what I'm hearing, number one, we want to be sure that whatever goes in there is not going to negatively impact gear. And so if that means there needs to be some landscaping, there needs to be some barriers to cut down noise or whatever, so that those bicyclists that use that or those hikers that are using that area can use it safely, realizing that this is an industrial area, so it's not going to be quiet like a walk in the woods. So I think that's an area we want to look at. I think the asphalt plan is certainly something that is probably of major concern, because that's a little different than staging or some of these other kinds of things. So I think that needs to be included in there. I think we are looking to a certain extent at dust and noise, and the amount of dust and noise that's produced with whatever process is put on that land, and that if it reaches a point where it's going to negatively impact neighbors, that there's something in place to trigger some mitigation, so that...
Yeah, I think that's the key. As long as there's something in there that gives us the right to complain, and to issue a complaint and have that complaint acted on by the county to the homeowner, then I'm fine with it.
and I think traffic to a certain extent is an issue. Yes, the county maintains those roads, but if you're getting 15 or whatever, and 15 round trips, it's not 15 I'm in or I'm out and then I'm done for the day. That's basically 30 30 trips from a vehicle or vehicles, and what are we looking at? Are we looking at, like I said earlier, are we looking at a 1.5 ton pickup, or are we looking at a great big huge more massive vehicle that you use when you're doing heavy construction? Because that does make a difference, and that does have an impact on their neighbors, the constant going in and out. And again, I would think that the county would want to know that.
Right, but to Councilman Kill's point, it's a county road, and I'm just trying to get to a consensus. So with council, just kind of with the discussion of recommending that, if noise or dust, or I think just unsightliness of the site becomes an issue, and we get some neighbor complaints, with the county either, I don't know if they have mitigation plan now, or if they don't, if they would at least have some kind of conditions in this conditional, or in this high impact permit, to where if it gets to be an issue, we could bring it back in front of the county.
What does our zone of proximity stuff say about our kind of good neighbor policy with the county? Is there specific verbiage in there that says if something's going to go in, the city will be notified and comments will be taken into account?
There's two different things. So there's a 3 mile area, right, and that's looked at a lot more in regards to like streets planning. And, really when we assess those at P&Z, or we look at those, we're really just kind of making sure that if this thing is annexed in the city in 30 years, is it going to kind of fit, does your street plan line up? So that's a 3 mile. And then there's also a 1 mile area, and that's looked at a lot more as more possibles to the annexation, a lot more timely. And I don't know that legally, I think there's a little bit, we're a little bit unclear of how much weight the city's voice has on that. But quite frankly, those are conversations we normally have with P&Z. The reason that this is in front of council is because we're the adjacent property owner. And so the county also notifies adjacent property owners. And so that's why we notice council. So if we were not adjacent to this and we hadn't had that, this would have probably just stayed at P&Z with the letter, because that's normally our process. But the reason why we're here, Councilman, is just because we touch the property.
I can't think of the word for it, but there's a word that goes on permits that.
Conditional.
Sam, how do they state that? As far as when you have a permit and there's a clause in there that you can't,
use permit.
that if a complaint comes up or if a violation happens, the city has authority. I know I've dealt with it before. I just can't remember how the actual verbiage.
And I'm not sure, Councilman, if you're talking about to a specific permit, or you're talking through a land use type permit? I'm thinking permit. Like a building permit?
Yeah, like a life safety permit or
well, I'm not sure that I can.
So I think we've done like temporary COs.
That's when they do that, yes. When they issue a temporary CFO, certificate of occupancy, then there's stipulations that are on that.
Sure. I don't know if that would be quite apples and oranges here. I mean, on a temporary certificate of occupancy or something like that, if that's what we're going to use as an example, that's usually reserved for something that has not been completely finished. Say you got a project. I'm trying to think of an example. When I was in Branson, Missouri, we had some fairly large projects where we had multiple tenants. We gave temporary certificate of occupancies so that the businesses could start their function and begin to turn over some cash, but the building still wasn't complete. So we had areas that were marked off. But the whole idea of the temporary CO was to kind of hold the contractor's feet to the fire, if you will, to finish up all the rest of it. I'm not really quite sure that would be applicable in this situation.
But what is that, the phrase or the terminology when something like that is on the permit? When the conditions, I almost thought of it. I'm getting old. Never mind.
Yeah,
but that's what that type of thing is what we're talking about, is having a rider on there or something that says that because this property is going to be used for multiple things, as it's being used, we got a right to review.
So you're at like stipulations or conditions?
Yes, to review the...
Right. Would you just be referring to, I mean, we do have a clause in our building permit that has a line item for special conditions that we issue permits out that, they have to, an applicant would have to perform on as a condition of their permit. I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to or not, though.
But that's completely out of our hands. That's county property. We can make recommendations about these are things that concern us, but ultimately it's the county's decision.
Are you any closer to knowing where you're going here?
Well, I would like to hear, like, maybe from Mr. Archbeck, are you okay, kind of the letters we've discussed, just recommending that, the county either require mitigation now, if they have any, or if they don't, that they have some kind of stipulations or conditions that if these things become an issue, that they have a way to pull the application back and require them.
Again, as a avid bicyclist that sometimes takes kids up there and stuff, that it's important that the atmosphere is one that promotes bicycling, hiking, recreation. Mm-hmm. And if there's things there that are prohibiting that, there should be kind of neighbors coming together, county and city working together so that we can promote this. Okay. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes perfect sense. Okay, well, I'm not hearing any objections to kind of what we talked about, so instead of calling on you one at a time, if everybody kind of thinks they know the letter that's getting written at this point based on the discussion held largely by Council Miller, Mayor Sheik, and myself, with some others chiming in, if you guys feel comfortable with that letter that you think that we're going to write, then I have the direction that I need. If there's anything you've heard that you have a concern with or anything else you think we need addressed, please say so now.
Time. Rolling.
No, I was going to say maybe see the rough draft first, I guess.
Okay, well, this is, it's going to the county P&Z on the 13th, which is Thursday. So this is a letter that we would write tomorrow and send tomorrow. So we could,
I guess, have a vote, then you can go from there. Then you can sit, but if it's unanimous, you can go whoever you want to send the letter tomorrow.
Okay, well, I mean, that would just be the comment timing. So I think it is imperative that we get any comment in front of the county P&Z. I think that the county commissioners rely on their P&Z the same way the council relies on our P&Z, which is to say, once you get a recommendation from them, council is usually reluctant to do anything different than that. And my sense is the county commissioners are similar, that they rely a lot on their P&Z. So that would be our plan, is to get this letter drafted tomorrow, have it executed tomorrow and send it off, because, like I say, P&Z does meet on the 13th.
So are we good to do that? Are we good to send the letter tomorrow?
I think you have a motion in a second.
Yes,
You call a vote.
I do have a motion.
Okay, then, We've already got a motion in a second,
Okay.
so we're ready to vote.
Archibald?
Aye.
Keel?
Aye.
Lucero?
No.
McLaughlin?
No.
Miller?
No.
Sheep?
Aye. Okay. Then I guess we're done on that issue, is that right? Or can we go back and,
Well,
I,
it doesn't pass?
I thought we had enough yeses that there was some concern that, is it the wording of the motion that's concerning, or is it that you just don't want to send a letter, period?
It's the fact that it's tied.
Yeah, it's tied.
Who breaks the tie?
Nobody, so if it's a tie, it's a no.
Nobody, well, normally you have 7 members, so you don't have a tie.
Oh, we don't have it.
Counted to 6.
Yeah, so, I mean, the motion fails because it...
Okay.
Okay, well...
All right.
All right. Okay.
We give it the old college try. Okay, we have no draft resolutions or ordinances. We don't have any other items of business at this time. Are there any citizens that would like to speak before council? Barring that, there is no city attorney's report. Is there a possible update?
Yes, Your Honor, just 2 things. One is I want to let you know that we had the Phase 1, which is a design review for our LEED process. So in certifying for LEED for this building, they do 2 processes. One is design review, so they review things like our HVAC system, our lighting, everything that we built into this building. And so we had a possible of 47 points under that review, and we actually received all 47, which is just amazing. So really good job by our design team, our engineers, everybody, because LEED is extremely laborious. So good job to them. And so now we work on to our second part, which is the construction review. And so construction review would be things like the amount of how we recycle all the materials in the building, the adhesives we use, the air quality management, the commissioning process, kind of all the things that aren't on the plans but actually happen. And so that's another 9 points we're requesting. Again, we only need to get to 50 points to get the LEED Silver designation. But, we have a possibility of hitting 56 points, I guess. But so that process will take 3 to 5 months. So it's basically, we have a month now to submit the construction elements. They have a month to review and send back comments. We have a month to address those comments. They have a month again to review. And you can see this cycle. So it may go as quickly as 3 months, but it could be still a while out. But anyway, I'm just pleased that we're over that hump. And the second thing I want to let you know, this council will remember that some members of the Sanitation District Board approached council last year about a possible merger. And so once they had their new staff person, Jan Nelson, on board, we sent some of our staff there to start meeting with them. And so we kind of started that process. And then Ms. Nelson just sent me an email today and said that the Sand District really wanted to talk about the merger under the scenario that they didn't hire a manager. And now that they have a manager, they're not interested in pursuing the conversations with the city about a merger. So my calendar just freed up this spring. So so anyway, I just want to let council know that right now we're not pursuing that because they've withdrawn their interest.
Well, that's good news.
What is the LEED, silver LEED thing? What does that get us?
A nice plaque on the wall.
That's what I was going to say.
Well, and really, it's is a condition of the receiving the Department of Local Affairs grant, the $2 million we received for the building. We were required to try to attain LEED status, so it was a requirement of our grant. I would tell you that most of the things in there are great. I mean, they really push you towards high efficiency bulbs and everything, but you end up working on the 20% of things that are such a pain, and you spend most of your time talking about the things like, a LEED 4 certified adhesive and where on earth you find that. And so it's been, we've had a lot of lead discussions, and probably any contractor is going to spit twice when you say lead in front of them. But, you know, again, this building is extremely efficient for us. The taxpayers are going to save money much more than they would have if we just built to industry standard or minimum code standard. So anyway, so that's why we're finishing the process.
The results are great.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so anyway, that's why lead.
All right. Do any council members have committee reports? Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a first. All right, the workshop. We had the opportunity to be able to meet several new city employees. Tannen Dorman and Amy Palladian are both dispatchers with the police department. Hopefully they'll stay for a while. And Ryan McClooney is a new patrolman that's now on board. 2 awards were given out to volunteers at the Welcome Center who have, over the last 20 years or so, put in 4,000 hours, Byron McKelvey and Loretta Green. So they were given plaques this evening at the work session, and their dedication, our thanks were expressed for their dedication to that job. We discussed setting a date for the 2017 strategic planning advance for the city. This is something we try to do annually, just to kind of look ahead and make some long-range plans to give the city staff some direction, and that's been set right now for 6/3. It'll be an all-day deal. We adjourned for executive session on conference to receive some legal advice, and second executive session to discuss a personnel matter. At this time, I'd like to also read a couple of things. I got a really nice little note in the mail after the dedication for the opening for the City Hall from Phyllis Lockhart. She's the grant secretary for RE1. She said, "You may share this with all council. The new City Hall is beautiful. It's very well designed. Thanks for the opportunity to tour it." And enclosed, she had written, "Dear Karen and City Council members, I had the privilege of taking one of the tours of the new Cortez City Hall yesterday. I walked away truly amazed. It is a beautiful building, and Cortez citizens can be very proud of it. I absolutely love the design and the personal touches, like the old photos in the hallway. The woodwork is wonderful. Mr. Canada was a wonderful tour guide and could answer every one of our group's questions. I was impressed with the energy savings features. I'm sure lots of thought, time, and hard work went into this building from conception to completion, so thank you to all involved." Phyllis Lockhart. I also received a resolution from our E1 school district supporting a safe pedestrian and bicycle routes to the high school. It was signed on March the 14th by the school board, whereas walking and bicycling are healthy activities for everyone, including high school students, whereas walking and bicycling are invigorating ways to get to school, assuring students arrive ready for the day of learning. Whereas the City of Cortez has provided safe access to the high school for both pedestrians and cyclists from the west on 7th Street, whereas access to the high school from the residential area to the north is not good for pedestrians and hazardous for bicyclists. The Sligo Main Street intersection, therefore, be it resolved that the RE1 school district encourages the City of Cortez to explore ways to provide safe access for high school students. I'd also like to remind you that on Thursday, Chasing the Dragon will be the documentary that will be shown, that the library is showing at Sunflower Theater. It has to do with heroin addiction. Heroin, that's on Thursday, so 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, is that the 14th Thursday? So I don't know how uplifting it will be, but I'm sure it will be very interesting. And you might, if you're interested, you might go online and find out what the expression "chasing the dragon" means. It's quite interesting.
I've seen it. It's pretty.
Is it good?
Yeah, well, it's not good.
Well,
it's pretty.
Yeah. Was it interesting? Was it well worth spending time to see?
I would say for young people.
I mentioned in my last update that because the library just showed 1984, and now they're doing Chasing the Dragon, that my direction to Eric is find a documentary that's a little bit positive. Let's go ahead and, let's get through this one and then find something that leaves people with a smile
Like
versus...
Puff the Magic Dragon or something like that.
Oh, well,
Okay, well,
Remember how you say that.
yeah,
I didn't mean Puff.
yeah. Well, is there anything else for the good of the city?
It's all good.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you all for coming.